Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and it is an opportune moment to follow the member for McKellar and his litany of untruths and verbling of many people. Let me set the record straight. Industry super do not donate to the Labor Party.
Not 1 cent.
But the fact that they believe that, the fact that they repeat it, goes to the truth of what this debate really is. Because this debate isn't about advancing the interests of the workers on behalf of the Liberal Party. This debate, from their point of view, is about weakening industry super, rewarding their mates in the banks, who can't compete with industry super because industry super outperforms them every day of the week. This debate, their jihad to attack industry super is all about rewarding their donors in the big four banks and all the other financial providers. And you look about it, they talk about choice, but who do they hamstrung every time there's a debate? Who do they put more restrictions on? It's industry super, it's not-for-profit super. The banks escape the legislation all the time. And it's not a surprise, because this comes from a party that opposed superannuation from day one, During question time, I had a bit of time on my hands, so I went through the Hansard debate from the original superannuation guarantee charge debate in 1992. And here's just some random quotes I pulled out from one day of debate, where Liberal members called it a tax on jobs. Another one called it stupid and dishonest, and another one called it a fraud. And it's clear that the attitude of the Liberal Party has not changed from that time. It has not changed from that time, and the litany of untruths from the member for McKellar just reinforced that. And don't get me started on Senator Andrew Bragg, a man who is morally owned by the banks. Mr Deputy Speaker, because the truth is that this has a huge impact on individual workers. Their choice to freeze super 6 years ago, the superannuation guarantee charge, and their clear motivation to freeze it again hurts workers every day. The temporary freeze has hurt a 25-year-old by $35,000. 25-year-old, $35,000 worse off over their lifetime because of the so-called temporary freeze. That is the truth, Mr Deputy Speaker. And they say that there is a trade-off between wages and increases in the SGC. Well, in the 6 years before the super freeze, wages grew by 3.30%. Guess what they grew in the 6 years after the freeze? Maybe 4%, maybe 5%. Maybe we had a wage explosion under the workers' nirvana of the Liberal Party when the SGC was frozen. Sadly, Mr Deputy Speaker, wages growth averaged a paltry 2.08%. That is the real empirical evidence of what occurred. Freeze super, wage growth went down, Mr Deputy Speaker. And the truth is that wages are an outcome of the normal institutional and bargaining processes. Wages aren't determined through some abstract free market perfect competition. It is through the normal institutional pressures in the economy. Lifting the SGC will not impact on wages growth. It just will not. And that is what history has shown us. There is no visible correlation between increasing the superannuation guarantee and slower wage growth. And in fact, if you look at the years when the SGC increased, there tended to be a slightly stronger wages growth in those years compared to years where the SGC was not increased. So the truth is, Mr Deputy Speaker, this is an ideological attack by a party that is devoted to hurting workers, a party that is devoted to reducing the wage share of national income, a party that is obsessed with industry super, obsessed because they're convinced they donate to the Labor Party, obsessed because they threaten the cosy closed shops that their mates in the banking industry have, the banks that do donate to them, Mr Deputy Speaker. That is the truth behind this. And what is the impact of this? The impact of this is that workers so far have been much worse off because of the freeze to the SGC. A 25-year-old worse off by $35,000 over their lifetime. So this debate is really important, Mr Deputy Speaker, but the ideology, the obsession, the untruths, the ownership of those opposite by the big four banks morally is really what this debate is all about.